Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with California Ag Network, reporting to you from the annual conference of American Pistachio Growers. I'm here with one of the directors on the board. This is William Bourdeau. He's also a grower in the west side of Fresno, as well as, you're very tied into water, being the director of Westlands Water District. We just got the announcement from federal that the Central Valley Water Project just got an allocation as of February 25th, I believe, for... was it 35%?
35% initial allocation. So we've been working tirelessly with the Bureau of Reclamation, trying to educate them and inform them is when farmers get an early allocation that's of sufficient size, they can do a lot more. If you get an allocation late, and a lot of the growing windows start to close because farming's complicated. You can either grow something and go in the open market and take a bunch of risk. Maybe you do well, but maybe you don't. Or you can find a contract that mitigates some of that risk, and it's going to be sold into the market by, say, a processor or somebody that's in that business. And so getting these allocations early, and what I liked most about it is last year at the same time, similar hydrology, we got a 15% initial allocation. This year,
15 versus 35.
15 versus 35 in similar weather conditions. And so I'm encouraged by their not being as conservative and risk averse as they are this year. And I think some of that stems from a change in administration.
It really hurt a lot of farmers last year, not knowing, even though they increased it, it's initial allocation, so more might come, right? And we hope that it will come and that we'll get more rain as well. But like you said, you can't plan. How do you plan out your farming for the year if you don't know how much water you're going to get, especially for our growers of annual crops? This is just ridiculous.
And farming, like many businesses, but more so maybe in farming, is you need certainty. In anything, you need certainty. And if one of your primary inputs, the thing that is required, is unreliable, it's hard for you to even get a contract with somebody because a lot of people want to do business on a more longer term basis. They don't want to do this with these one-offs. They say, well, I have to supply Walmart or something, and I need, a reliable supply. Like I need a reliable supply of water, they need a reliable supply of carrots or pistachios or whatever it is that we're growing. And so in order to get those contracts, say watermelon contracts or lots of different things, they need to be, especially lettuce. Lettuce is a big one. We lost, some windows in the past because of we weren't reliable, and they'd go from Yuma to Salinas and miss the Huron window. And so we need reliable water so people can say, yeah, we'll contract with these people. They're really good farmers and they can deliver. But without water, you can't farm.
Yeah, our farmers are getting attacked on all fronts, with labor challenges, water, taxes, the rising costs with inflation. It's especially last year, it was just way too much to deal with. And so this is really hopeful, though, like you said, a 35 initial allocation, it really ought to be 100%. Because, how do you expect to grow 100% of your crops, especially, for our growers of permanent crops that need that water year after year.
No, yeah.
to survive. And so, but this is hopeful. It's a good start, better than last year. That being said, what we anticipate sort of grower response to this initial 35%?
I think they'll be encouraged. Some, obviously we could use more, but given the what we got last year versus this year, I'm pleasantly surprised. But one thing that you touched on, and I want to hit, the cost of doing business has skyrocketed, and we need to make sure that if we have regulations that aren't, serving a productive purpose, that they need to be removed. I mean, we don't need to have so much burden. I mean, I'm proud that we farm to the highest food safety standards in the world. Those are something that I think are good, but not all the regulations that we deal with are providing benefit. And so if they're not, if all they are is driving up costs and making it difficult, and there's really unintended consequences. A lot of times they'll put so much bureaucracy that you have to be a very large business with very sophisticated people just to fill out the forms to stay in compliance with the government. And that prevents people to getting into the business, and we need small business. We need people to be encouraged to start their own business. And when
we need to keep our family farmers.
we absolutely do, and not just farming, all the different businesses that farmers do business with. I mean, there's going to be a huge transfer of wealth that occurs because of the baby boomers. The baby boomers are getting to a point in their life where they can no longer run their businesses. And if their children don't want to take over the business, somebody needs to, because my generation, there's not a lot of people in it. I think some of the millennials and some of the others, there's much a bigger group. But in the meantime, we're going to have to make sure that some of these businesses that are really contributing to society in an important way, someone backfills them and is able to run them. And it's probably easier to buy a cash flowing business than just starting a business on your own. And so I think if somebody is inclined, they should go and try to buy a business that's already successful so you can cash flow on day one. Now, that's not to say that I don't encourage you to go start a business, because that's important too. I just think it's maybe easier.
Yeah, no, some of these regulations are overkill, and they're really killing a lot of the farms out there. So really important. Really appreciate the work that you do, along with all of our farmers in feeding the world. We need to take good care of our farmers, and it starts with water. Having the water we need.
It does. I mean, having a vibrant domestic food supply capability is in our national interest. It even has national security ramifications. We learned this during the pandemic. If we rely on foreign countries for some of our necessities, say medical supplies, and a pandemic or something occurs, lots of things can happen. And countries start looking inward, and we're relying on someone else, we become vulnerable. And so we need, at least on things that are necessities, we need to be able to produce them ourselves. And food is a very good example of that.
It's an essential. So, well, thank you so much, William. Better see that allocation increase over the next months, and earlier the better. Read more about these things in our publications at Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.